Hello tribe, hope you're doing really well today because I am here to share with you a lot of things that I've been working on, and especially a little bit of my story in terms of how and why I came to these teachings that I am getting involved in now. So the first thing that probably caught your attention is the title of this video being Liberation of the Mind, which is the way I can use the words to describe that which we are seeking. You see, we always talk about seeking and seekers and people who are in search for something, but we don't know what is it that we're searching. Yes, we sometimes get the idea that we're searching the one, we're seeking the creator, we want to become all of this, but what does that actually mean to all of us? You definitely know me from the Law of One, and you can see that this is the whole body of our philosophy here in this channel. But really, what does that mean to become the creator? You start to ask questions about, what does this whole process of evolution mean? Where am I at in the process of evolution? Why am I seeking? And all these questions. And to me, this is the process of liberation of the mind. This is the yearning that we have to become one with the creator. The solution of all of this is that process of realizing the one in ourselves. But here's where a little bit of my story will come in handy. Because you see, you can see behind my philosophy in the Law of One that I have a strong sense of unity with the whole of the universe, with everything. And I have to say that this didn't come straight from the Law of One. I don't think any of my understandings came straight from the Law of One, but with practical application of the Law of One. And it is thanks to non-duality. The story in my case is that when I began my seeking, I encountered so many things in my path. I started to study consciousness and mind-altering substances and so on until I got to the Law of One. And right at the same time that I started studying and at the same time interpreting the Law of One, I somehow was attracted to non-duality, to Buddhism in general. And parallel to my study of the Law of One began this search to understand this very bizarre way of looking at the world from the non-self, no mind, all this Oriental philosophy that even to the Orientals, the Asians, is lost, because the majority of them will tell you that they don't understand what this philosophy is, even though their language may help them to understand the difficult concepts that exist there, but somehow they're still lost there. And it takes one to really go into this adventure of trying to understand this deep knowledge that is not only of the Eastern traditions, but also of the Western traditions as we get into other religions and we see the mystical aspect of it. So really, non-duality can be said to be the mystical part of any spiritual belief. Likewise, in the Law of One, we have so many topics. We can go into metaphysics and into reality and to the elite that is oppressing the world right now, and UFOs and all kinds of topics. But there is also a mystical aspect in the Law of One, which is really what attracts us all. It's what binds everything together. It's what gives form to everything that we study in the Law of One, in the raw material specifically. And the Confederation in other channelings back all of this in their recommendations for seeking the One. So amidst the whole chaotic or seemingly chaotic knowledge that is in the raw material because of the question and answer format that we have, and I wouldn't say chaotic, but scattered information, we get into it's alluring this mystical aspect of the Law of One. And so I understand why a lot of people don't get it. I understand why a lot of people don't follow the teachings of anything that is mystical, because it requires a complete reversal of perception into who we truly are. And so we start with the question, who am I? And this is where the mystical traditions, especially in the East, where they have openly explored this, as opposed to esoterically explore this, as in our Western traditions, because Christianity. We have too much prosecution of any other belief. I mean, ask the Gnostics if you can find any of them around. Even their texts were all obliterated until possibly the 1940s when they recovered the Nag Hammadi text. So there's a reason why all this mystical knowledge has been obscured in the sense of being hidden from everybody, because we, of course, were questioned and judged by any sort of belief that didn't conform with the establishment, the religious establishment. So in any case, I digress here. The point is that this mystical aspect of ourselves is really what I was interested in. It was easy for me to understand the whole societal structure and history of the planet and all the oppression religiously and culturally and morally, etc. For me, that was just, okay, that's not interesting to me. I'm interested in the full aspect of it. And you can see this in my exposition of the Law of One, where you know that I go straight to the meaning of it, or at least what I can understand. It's my interpretation, of course. It's not like I got the truth of it, but I interpret my own truth. And because of that, I'm always attracted to the way in which I can understand this straight, without too much thinking, too much going around and learning other things and postponing basically the final understanding of what this really means. This is how I am interested in all of this. So over time, this has worked parallel together as I study all the aspects of this creation, the whole activity of the creator, which is all this universe that we can see that is moving, changing, evolving. The study of all of this at the same time that I studied and understood myself. Who am I? What is my position in all of this? And why have I thought myself to be something different? This is where the mind gets into the equation, because the mind is that portal between our true self and the apparent self. And this is the topic that I'm mostly interested in teaching, because I think this is the key to understanding everything. If you follow my philosophy, you know that this is the key to understanding anything. This is what permeates anything that I teach, anything that I say in my videos or in my explanations. There is the understanding of the mind, the nature of the mind. And of course, I couldn't accomplish this without non-duality. I have to say that Buddhism to me was the spiritual understanding. And it's not even a spiritual understanding, but the psychological, or as Ra would say, the mind-spirit complexes that were informed to me by this philosophy, or this science rather. It's not even a philosophy. Buddhism or non-duality is pure science. Me being a scientist all my life, of course, I decided to go with the most scientific way possible to reveal myself, to know that I'm just not following a text. I'm not following something that was written by somebody and I must conform with it too. So I followed this very scientific method of self-inquiry, of knowing who I am. And to me, it was a process. It took me a while to get my bearings on all of this. But it's not something that suddenly just flashes on you, or at least that didn't happen to me. It was a gradual process of understanding what this really means to me. How does this apply to everything? And just like the Law of One applied to everything that I had learned in the past and that I continue to learn, this system of self-inquiry into understanding my true nature applies to everything else. When I study the whole of the Law of One, it is compatible completely. When I study anything, actually, it's my own experience. How can it not be? If it conforms with my own experience and what I live on a daily basis, then to me, that is true, or that is truth in this case. So that's how I got into non-duality, or actually how non-duality played a role behind the scenes, if you will, because again, I am known for the Law of One exposition, but you can see that I have also a huge interest in explaining these non-dual concepts, and every time I can, I try to put it into my exposition of the Law of One when it makes sense. But more and more, as I talk to you people, as I started sharing with you on one-on-one calls and other of my Spanish audience, I started to see that there is a gap of understanding between you, who you truly are, and what you are exploring as a spiritual seeker. To me, this is, of course, grist for the mill, as the Confederation would say. And this is something that, of course, excites me to be able to teach this, because just like I understand the Law of One in terms that I can explain it in a sort of basic way, or in a way that makes coherence to most people, I want to do the same thing. And in fact, I'm doing it, and I'm so excited to be able to share this process of self-inquiry to know who you are, and not only end at who you are, but collapse in the duality between subject and object, which is really the feeling of becoming the creator, as Ra explains it. So all of this is becoming part of my own teachings, and the method that, of course, resonated the most with me, even though I adore and I can explain Buddhism and its different iterations of it over time, like Zen Buddhism, which was really what attracted me the most, there is a method which is relatively new, and it is my preferred method of exploring the self. This was greatly inspired to me by my teacher Rupert Spira, and of course the originator of all of this, or at least the recognized originator of all of this. He wasn't the only one, but the one that it's mostly known for, Ramana Maharshi, who are the best people that I have learned from to understand this direct path, which is the way in which we can go straight into the experience of what we call the creator. Other people call them God, pure consciousness. We don't have a word for it. We don't have a name for it. But this is the way that you go straight into that one beingness that you are. And from there, it's not only that you go there and you reside there forever, is that you come out and understand everything from any spiritual belief that you may have. And you do what I call the collapse of duality, the merging into oneness, the non-duality, the Advaita, that is actually the philosophy that is being taught on this logical reasoning of the self. So through this process, what you do is that you inquire into your own self, because you see, the problem that we go into is, and we call it the ego, it's better called the separate self, because we believe that we're something separate than what we truly are. This is all a process of the mind, and we board this process and we create an identity out of this process. But as you know, the activity of the mind is always changing, and so is the identity, the writer of this activity of the mind is always changing and always suffering. It's always going ups and downs, ups and downs. So the purpose of this is to center yourself, because you see that all your problems, all your sufferings are predicated upon a self that we haven't actually asked who it is. We always say, me, I am the one who suffers, but we don't inquire enough to get to the depth into our true being. And this is what's missing terribly in our societies, especially in the spiritual community, who is in the process of polarization in the positive path, or ascending, or being of service to others, or simply opening the heart. And I see that this is a very crude or basic understanding that we need to first get. And this is why I call this the end of seeking, the end of the search. You end the seeker. There is no more seeking. There is only now exploration. Because once you realize who you truly are, yes, conditionings will repeat. As Ra says, catalysts will repeat, will continue to come until it's no longer useful. And we will see it, but from a different point of view, from a liberated mind. And things change dramatically. All our sufferings, everything that we consider to be a problem, resolves itself. So I really don't understand why there's not much talk about this in the spiritual communities. And if there is, it's still shrouded into a lot of mysticism. The wording is probably very misleading. And as I have learned from Rupert Spira, there is just a fantastic way into exploring into all of this by simply dialogues between the dynamic of teacher-student. And you reveal so much that is just a beautiful practice to continue on our own. And as I see this, the direct path became my method of working with people. And I started doing it, and it is just brilliant to see how people respond to this, because you don't need any knowledge of metaphysics. You don't need any knowledge on spirituality. You need no knowledge on science or any sort of understanding that you may have. Your mind does not come into place but as its own experience. So all you need to bring to this, it's your own experience. You don't have to have any sort of, the only thing that is required is that you understand my language, the way I speak, not even the vocabulary that I use, but my questions. If you can understand my question, and possibly what I will ask you is simply, who are you? And from there, explore together. It's just such a beautiful path. And of course, I am compelled to continue to do this content here on YouTube, but I was also compelled to create different pathways for people to start working with me. And so this is when I started asking people, how do you want to learn this? What is the best way that you would like to learn this? And especially in my Spanish community, a lot of people said, please, let's just work one-on-one. And I started doing that. Other people said, let's do a community. And I started doing that. So I wanted to share all that with you as well, because even though my English community is not as big as the Spanish one, I still want to share the same love and understanding, this knowledge with everybody. So in the one-on-one, all we're going to do is explore this method that I already delineated for me to be able to bring you to that experience, to bring you to that recognition of yourself. And like I said, you don't have first to believe anything that I say. All you need to do is check your experience. And as we go through the process, and two, you don't have to bring any knowledge, previous knowledge, for you to understand what we're doing together. So that is one way that I'm teaching it. And the second way is the course that I already mentioned in this channel before, but I'll mention it here. It is the only course that I was inclined to record and leave as something standalone for people who like to learn this passively. And it's recorded, it's there for people. It's going to probably change over time. I don't know, but this is the best way I can explain it now. It would only change if people give me enough feedback for me to add even more stuff to it. Because honestly, all that I'm doing is just sharing this that worked for me. It has been working for me all this time. And because people like you resonate with my own philosophy and my own worldview of how things are, I wanted to start sharing this with you as well. And so these are the two methods in which I can teach this. And the last but not least of all of them is the community that I started creating in Patreon already. And even though I'm sure that it's going to be flooded by Spanish people, I still have English people. And if we reach a certain amount of people in English, I will start doing the same thing that I am doing in Spanish, which is depending on the levels. If you want to just be involved, just passively there, you can enter the first level, $5 a month. It's just a typical subscription in Patreon. I will do monthly Q&As there. You also get the law of one before it comes out a week prior. And if you want to join the other tier, which is the $15 a month, then once we get enough people there, we can start doing webinars and meditations within it, Q&As, live Q&As, and who knows what else we'll start creating there. But I just wanted to share with you that I am working with this actively now, and I am doing this particular teaching of the most important thing to me right now, which is recognizing who am I. From there is that we can resolve everything. Because like I said, Most of our problems are predicated on a self that we don't understand. And if we can understand this self, magically something starts happening, which is that your problems stop being a problem. They just continue to be just something in your life that you have to deal with. And you don't deal it from a suffering aspect. And that's what this guy over here predicated. It's right here, yes. Gautama Siddhartha was only interested in the end of suffering. That's mind liberation, and it's what I'm bringing to you. So if this resonates with you, like I said, you want to work one-on-one with me, I have a link in the description where you can just schedule a free call, discovery call. Let's talk about it. Let's see what can I do for you. If you want to learn passively, then there is the course, which I really enjoyed recording, and I put so much of my time and my effort to it that I just love it. I love what came out, but I'm always open to suggestions and see what happened during the course. So I would like to know about that as well if you do the course. And last but not least, like I said, is the community that is growing in Patreon, where I will start doing this not only in the Spanish language, but in the English when we get enough people. So all links in the description for you to join or participate in this in any way possible that you want. I have nothing else to say today, but thank you so much for listening, for resonating with me, with this philosophy that I love talking about, and hopefully start teaching with you and helping you to liberate your mind from this separate self that we believe we are. I'll see you in the next video.